Hi everybody, my name is Robert McCormack. This is my presentation for Info 550. I will be covering the subject of robotics and robotic tax. The subject of robot tax gained a lot of attention in February 2017 when multi-billionaire Bill Gates stated the following. He said, right now, the human worker who does, say, $50,000 worth of work in a factory, that income is taxed. You get income tax and Social Security tax. If a robot comes in to do the same thing, you would expect the robot to be taxed at the same level. While Bill Gates is a multi-billionaire, he is very concerned that when robots become more prevalent in the workforce, income inequality will only further increase. In today's society, we have what's called a basic economy. People go to work, they get paid, some of that goes to taxes to the government, and whatever money is left over, it fuels consumer spending and sales, which then fuels the business who pay taxes to the government. An economy with high tech, unemployment will be higher, and you will see pretty much guaranteed income collapses as households will no longer be working, so they will not be paying taxes, and they will not have the money to purchase goods and services, and then the business will not have a demand for its product. A robot tax pretty much says that a tax will be levied on a robot for any robot that takes a person's job. Consumers will still not be paying taxes to the government, and they no longer will have the money to purchase goods or services, and then we're back to square one where businesses do not have the demand for the product. So no matter how much a business automates in this way, the bottom line is consumers still need the discretionary income to fuel the economy. On the flip side, there's this guy called Dean Baker who believes that while technology and innovation may eliminate some jobs, more jobs will be created. He stated, there were many fewer people needed to build a car in 1973 than there was in 1947, but yet there wasn't mass unemployment. To follow up on what Dean Baker said, automation may not be a bad thing after all. This slide shows the rate of employee turnover over the past 120 years. As technology advances, we have actually less employee turnover than we did from 1960 all the way back to 1900. This could be due to the fact that people's jobs are more rewarding as more technology is introduced into the workforce. So before we get into whether robots should be taxed or not, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of robots and why employers would want to use them over human employees. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of using robots over human employees? Firstly, productivity. Robots can produce a greater quantity in a shorter amount of time. Robots have the ability to work 24/7 without a break. Human employees are really only going to work 8 to 9 hours a day, so employers will have to hire 3 employees to fulfill the robot's job. Safety. Robots can perform tasks safely without the risk of injury. Even if the job is safe, the risk for a human getting hurt is still quite likely. Savings. Robots save with increased productivity and precision. I believe your quality defects will be much lower with robots over human employees. Some of your disadvantages of robots over human employees are as follows. Your initial investment is very, very high over the cost of hiring a human employee. Maintenance. You have high costs to maintain this machine, and as future product changes, robots doing the current job will not be needed. For instance, a customer right now is buying an iPhone. If that changes to something else, in more likelihood than not, you will be required to purchase another robot to make that product. And robots are very limited. They only can do what they are programmed to do. They cannot continually improve like humans. So what is the probability that your job will be replaced by a robot in the next 20 years? For anyone who is currently a telemarketer, you should be delighted that you're doing your MBA, because you have a 99% chance that your job will be eliminated. I should have listened to my mother in Ireland. She always wanted me to be a priest, but unfortunately I am not. If I was a priest, the chances that my job would be replaced by a robot would pretty much be zero. So the reason robotic tax and this subject has become so hot lately is as follows. What happens if a new technology causes millions to lose their jobs in a short period of time? Or what if most companies simply no longer need many human workers? Now let's look at arguments representing both sides on whether to tax robotics or to not tax robotics. Candy and soda. Very, very difficult to define what a robot is. Now let's look at the anti-robotic tax side. First, history. What would it have been like if automation was taxed in the past? For instance, when Henry Ford set up Ford Company and he was taxed really highly because he was really the first assembly line, would that really have slowed down the transition from the horse and cart to the car? The answer is no, it would not. Convenience will always win through. Product cost. Prices of goods and services will always rise with a tax. Eventually, that price will be paid by the consumer. Outsource. With a robotic tax, companies will not automate, but will find cheap labor in other countries. Safety. With increased automation, less desirable and unsafe jobs will be filled by robots, which is a good thing. Trickle effect. Automation has always created other jobs. For instance, travel agents now have been replaced by Expedia, which high-tech jobs in Expedia pay a lot more than a travel agent. Robotic definition. It's very difficult to define a robot. For instance, vending machines have been around for a long time. Are they considered a robot since they're taking away a person's job in a store, also selling? Now, speaking from personal experience in the bourbon business, I work for the Seagram's plant in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. The bourbon business, especially the barrel part, is an extremely labor-intensive industry. Nothing has really changed in the past 250 years. Recently, Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky, was the first distillery to implement what's called a manless warehouse, where barrels go in and out on their own via computer. You have two guys who work the technical side, but it's decreased labor significantly, probably by 10 people if I had to guess. So what the state of Kentucky have done is they have very high taxes on the amount of barrels that are stored in inventory. Now that Buffalo Trace does not have that labor bottleneck, they can put away barrels a lot quicker and a lot safer than other distilleries. But the state of Kentucky is also winning because they are getting taxes for more barrels that are placed in inventory. The three questions I thought of after completing this presentation are as follows. How nervous are you in regards to robots taking your job? What alternative to taxation could you implement to balance innovation and job losses? And finally, If everyone's hours are reduced to 10 to 15 a week, what negatives do you think will arise from this? I look forward to everyone's responses on the discussion forum. Well, that's all, folks. I hope everyone enjoyed my presentation on robotics and tax. I hope everyone does really well in this class and got as much out of it as I have. And I will see everyone around in different classes this summer and fall. Thank you all.